You're better off. If you never said yes in your life, you're better off. Life is where you are now. And how's this fucking program worked out for you, old timer? Not worth a shit. Mistakes that he made that he hopes you don't make. You're going to make the same mistakes, but if not more. To only make 4 mistakes in the process is pretty fucking outstanding. Not perfect, but close enough for fucking perfect. Very German. The Germans don't make mistakes, period. I won't say ever, but almost never. That's the way their system is. And that's how they're all, just like your DNA, their DNA is for perfection from the first molecule of the deal to the end. And if he hadn't been working, he's working 60 hours a week as a financial analyst. He's a reasonably high-profile financial analyst, which hurt him. Not just the 60 hours a week, but he's used to overanalyzing shit. Plus, he's German. So he's in an analytical, really highly sophisticated financial analytical job. Plus, he's fucking German. Recipes for disaster. And so it took him a lot longer than it had to be. The comment that he made vis-a-vis which is the hub and spoke, which I told you, that's why 4 deals were generally in the same area, about 100, 150 kilometers away from where he lives, in Leipzig, if I remember correctly. The 5th one was 400 kilometers away. The fact that he counted 1,613 calls. That's very German. I mean, that they know exactly fucking how many. And the example, we haven't got to it yet, where I show a kid 1,200, 1,500, 1,800 calls before they did their first deal. The 1,800 calls, Bruce Whipple. By the way, for those of you who know Bruce is slow, but I mean methodical. He's an engineer, okay? The 1,500 is a guy named Dave, and the 1,200 was a girl named Lucinda, who was a superstar of the middle 90s. And the difference between the 1,200 and the 1,800 is normally sales skills. Now, even though Bruce has extraordinary sales skills, I mean, the gal had understood at the beginning of the internet how to use the internet. Back in the middle 90s, not many people knew how to use the internet, and she knew how to use the internet. She was very skilled, plus she sold knives door to door. So she knew how to use the internet, and she had direct sales skills, 1,200 calls. So she cut the calls, significantly reduced the number of calls she had to make. But he followed the process in that, for example, the board. I tell you this, and we go into this in depth, that you send out an agenda 10 days before the board meeting, a written agenda. And you've got the templates for this, but I'm going to go through it anyway. You send out the agenda for comments. 20 or 30% or maybe half of the board will make some comments. The other half of the board won't. Okay. And then you send the comments to your chairman. In this particular case, it was moi. And I didn't like, or none of the comments were important. Not that so much I didn't like them. They weren't important. Okay, there were things that could be handled at the board meeting. So we made a couple of changes to the agenda. Then we sent out the final agenda, normally 3, 4, 5 days. These are working days, not weekends. Working days before to the board again. And then during the agenda, there's going to be, there's 2 or 3 ways you can vote on subject matter in board meetings. We do not follow Robert's rules. Write that down. We are not following Robert's rules. Robert's rule is the Bible. It's the Quran of board meetings. How you run a board meeting, what you vote on, what you don't vote on. Said we don't follow Robert's rules. Otherwise, you're going to have 5-day board meetings. I mean, it takes too long. So one of the things, when you send out the agenda, we will not be following Robert's rules. Okay. So now, before one of the things I learned early on in my career from some of the great mentors I had, you never ask for a vote at a board meeting, Dan, that you don't know how they're going to vote. You never ask for a vote that you don't know what the results are going to be. So you've got 10 people on the board. You want to know every fucking vote. So the best way to do that is a couple days before the board meeting, you go and you meet with every board member. Like he said, the last 2 board members, because I made a change in the agenda. I gave him more latitude. I gave him, he could spend up to 5 million euros, I think. And the other board members didn't want to have him, not because they didn't like him, they didn't trust him, they didn't want to give him that much latitude, because the more money you can spend without board approval, the more trouble you can get in, right? Okay. So he changed the agenda. So then he met with 3 or 4 of the board members that were relatively near where he lives. And then the last 2 board members that flew in the night before, he met that morning of the board meeting to get their approval, for them to acquiesce or whatever the right words. He met with me first, and then he presented it, and all the board members signed off on the changes. It was only one change, not changes, but change. But then allowing him to spend more money without coming back to the board levered other parts of the articles of incorporation and the other things. So there was more than one change, but it was basically so he could spend more money. Because, I don't want to be going to board meetings from here to there every 3 weeks. I couldn't do that, and I don't like Zoom or Skype guys for board meetings. And we'll get into that later, but I don't like that. I like eyeball to eyeball. And so he met with all the board members to get their approval. Okay, so he was prepared, but that's following the QLA step by step. We've had guys thrown out at the board meetings. At the board meeting, your board met the night before for dinner and decided to cut your fucking head off. Again, you're the weakest fucking link. You're the only thing that can go wrong in this deal is you. Just as who's responsible for you not being here earlier? You. Who's responsible for you being poor? You. Well, the only thing that can go wrong in the board meeting is you. And so he followed the steps like the good little German he is, and he precluded that. And the most important person on your board is your chairman. And even though we call him an anchor chairman, don't be calling him an anchor chairman. But the metaphor is after he got a 60-story building, Deutsche Bank takes 20 stories. He's your anchor tenant. They're your anchor tenant. You understand? And then you leverage off the anchor tenant to rent or lease or whatever, all the rest of the building. So your anchor chairman is the most important person on your board. And it is Giles, so it's anchor chairperson now. I don't like that, but anyway, anchor chairperson. And for them to stand up, and protect you, basically. They get more percentage. They get like up to 10% of the equity of the deal. And that 10% not only is to do proper corporate governance, etc., it's to protect your ass. Now, when I'm your chairman, there's no worry about you getting thrown off. But I can't say that for my fellow chairman or chairpersons, because they'll do what's ever economically best for them. Best for them. And I won't do that. But so the next most important person on the board, if you're not going to be CEO, is you. If you're going to be CEO, then it's a CEO. And remember, most of you aren't qualified to be CEO. And in his board, 2 of us flew in. One flew in from the UK, an industry expert. I flew in from here, and a couple other had to fly in. But I mean, flying in from one city to Germany to another city in Germany is not such a big deal. So it's no big deal. So he followed the steps. And he said that he had a dry spell. Okay, and for those of you that have been involved in sales, even though he has great analytical skills, his analytic presentation was fucking world class. Even the board members, the big time lawyers, they got a lot of work. Somebody's done a lot of work here. Well, and I look, don't look at me. He didn't. The financial presentation was overkill. It was like a $18 billion deal, and where the discounted cash flows and present value and all this shit. I mean, which you don't need that. You don't need that, but that's what he's used to doing, so that's what he did. He also said he had 5 deals come to fruition because he had about 12 or 14 deals on the boil, or on the simmer that we're trying to get him to the boil, and 5 of them all happened at once. And so, and I tell you, don't have board meetings unless you got something to talk about, because the only thing to talk about other than deals is throwing you out. That's a slight exaggeration, but not much of one. Because when you're sitting around the table there, guys and gals, and they all look around, well, who's bringing what to this deal? They can't, as far as we get, you're bringing nothing. And sometimes they actually say that. And there's nothing in your scripts or your templates to respond to that, other than you're all fired. And I'll tell you how to fire them in a couple of days. That's it. No conversation. You don't try to convince them. No bullshit. Fine. You know how President Trump used to say, you're fired? On that program, that's exactly what you do. You're fired, fold up your little briefcase, and you'll hear from my lawyers. And you get your little hiney out of there. Because under pressure, some of you guys will agree to anything, just hoping that they don't take it from you. And I've seen it, because none of you are Jocko Wacko. You know, you think you're Jocko Wacko, but you're not. That's why you watch this fucking program. God bless you, Jocko. You know? Okay. He looks the part, okay? And he differentiated very well the difference between analytical skills, which he shouldn't have, and unfortunately in his particular case he had world-class analytical skills and sales skills. And he went to Toastmaster, etc., to learn. And he made a lot of presentations that he said, admittedly, that were shitty. Now, you don't want to hear this, but it takes 17 times to get it right. The average of the humanity, the 17th presentation will be right. And that's why the system is built up. Anchor chairman, hustle for, then you fill all the board positions. By the time you fill all the board positions, you're down to your accountants, which should be easier than lawyers. It wasn't for him. And so you're pretty smooth. And by the time you get to the lawyers think that you're gotten kind of tacit approval by the accountants. Otherwise, you wouldn't be there. And by the time you get to the banks, you're smooth as baby shit. At least you should be. That's how the system is built, in conjunction with the 1,613 calls that he made. But in hindsight's 2020, if he was standing here, he would tell you, and he's told me when I was there for the board meeting, that if I wasn't working, that's a big if I wasn't, if I coulda, shoulda, woulda, he could have done it in a few weeks, the whole fucking process. And now, with Captain America, who's done it in 117 days, while serving active duty military, being fucking deployed, did it in 117 days. That's why the program's 90 days now. And it separates the gals from the girls and the men from the boys. And it really has. It really has. Okay, next thing about Andreas, by the way, 75% of all deals on the planet get done the last 90 days of the year. I said that already. And I've said it ad nauseum forever and ever and ever. And that's because the financial institutions are trying to build up their portfolio so they can get paid a commission or bonus for Christmas.
Excluding Christmas and New Year?
No, it's including Christmas and New Year. Including Christmas and New Year. And because I've spent New Year's Eve in a bank. I've spent Christmas Eve. I've spent Christmas Day in a fucking bank. So them being closed are only closed for mooches, bums, meatheads like you. I've closed deals on fucking New Year's Eve. I've been accused of backdating shit that we closed at 3 o'clock in the morning New Year's Day, which is, I will neither confirm nor deny. But that's all bullshit. That's all for meatheads. That's urban legend, myth. So 75% of all deals for the whole year get done the last, it's actually 75 days, but I say 90, but 75 days. And you're coming right into the right time. I mean, where you can put the pedal to the metal. Let's see, Andreas. Okay, any questions? Yes, sir.
As far as board meetings, what is the incentive for having one earlier?
None.
Seems to me you...
No. Yeah, I'm not. No. I don't care what it seems to you. Every single board member is going to want to have a meeting immediately. That's a given, 100%, because that's the norm. That's conventional wisdom. They want to, I love this, they want to discuss strategy. As Lou Gessner, who turned around IBM 25 years ago, said in an infamous press conference, the last fucking thing is IBM needs is a new fucking strategy. And if IBM doesn't need a new fucking strategy, you don't need a new fucking strategy. You don't need any strategy. And at least, for those of you that make it, at least a third of you, will have a board meeting against the QLA rules because you don't know how to say no. Steve Jobs used to say no 1,000 times. I say no, K-N-O-W, when to say no. And when you're at this stage of your career, always say no.
Until we get to the deal.
Huh?
Until we get to the deal.
No, even you're better off. If you never said yes in your life, you're better off. Life is where you are now. And how's this fucking program worked out for you, old timer? Not worth a shit. Whenever we used to have, we don't have the new ones you got one of these, right? Yeah. It says, just fucking do it. The old ones used to say, what would Dan do? The what would Dan do? And when you should I have a board meeting? And the answer is Dan wouldn't do it. If you have 10 possible answers, and the 10th is the hardest answer for you emotionally, that's the right answer. It's never an easy time to kick your significant other to the curb. Is there ever an easy time? No. So you're the same old hag, pumping that same old shit. Don't touch me! There's guys in this room that understand what that means, because that's what your old hag tells you. Don't touch me. Now, why would you keep... Well, that's a whole other seminar. Never mind. Okay. That's a whole other fucking seminar. I don't want to go there. Okay. Did I answer that question?
Can you just never do board meetings?
No. You only do board meetings when you got something to talk about.
But you,
Acquisitions.
so you can close a deal first and talk about it.
No, because then the board legitimately, well, fuck, you didn't even enter, we didn't have anything to do with the decision-making process. Why are we here? I learned a lot of things with the Onassis Group, one of which is Costa Grazos, the CEO, told me many times. He says, Mr. Pena, let's not argue about kicking up the cake until we bake the fucker. Well, he didn't use fuck. He never swore until we baked the thing. And you've got nothing baked until you got deals on the table. He had 5 deals. We decided to go forward with 4 of them. Because what are you going to talk about? You're doing all the financial hunting for money. You're doing 95% of your time is for money and deals. The other guys are overseen for corporate governance purposes. They're there to govern. You're there to lead. And I'm telling you, maybe 2/3 of you, by the looks on your fucking stupid faces, are going to have board meetings and half of those will get thrown out. And then you're going to go on Reddit. Is it Reddit? QLA doesn't work. Isn't that what Reddit is a thing? Isn't it called Reddit or something? Yeah. You're going to go on Reddit. QLA doesn't work. And you neglect to say that, well, it didn't work because I didn't follow the steps. And little Josh used to go up there and try to defend Reddit. And he even put his balance sheet and all this bullshit. And I said, don't waste your time. It doesn't matter, Josh. But thank you for trying, but don't waste your time. Virtually all the Reddits are people that failed at the program because they didn't follow the steps. So back to the board meetings, because this is an important point. Then you form the company. In that case, a GmbH, which is a motherfucker to form, a lot of bullshit you got to go through, or the LLC, or the limited liability partnership, or the C corp, or the S corp, and you know which to form because you've been consulting with your accountants and your lawyers. What's the best? I'm in Texas. I'm in New Mexico. I'm in California. What's the best thing? Blah, 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 blah. Okay, because you've already done all that homework, and at your board, excuse me, at the board meeting. I recommend that you have your outside lawyers and outside consultants there, if not there, present on a call, so we can ask them questions while the board meeting is going on. And you have all the board members. And if the board member doesn't show up or can't show up, that speaks volumes. Now, occasionally and you try to have the board meetings on weekends, so you give no reason for them not to be there. But it speaks volumes. And you don't pay for them to come to the board meeting. And you don't put them up in a hotel. And you don't buy their fucking meals, and you don't give them expenses. If any of you ask me that in a weekly report, just resign. When I went to Germany, on my own nickel. When I went to Los Angeles for 2 board meetings, on my own nickel. But now, and I'm not believe me, I got more shit than I can say prayer over. But they gave me plenty of notice, so I planned the Dan Locke talk. I planned a TV interview. I planned a cruise to Alaska glaciers all around these board meetings. In between, the next was the talk before was Kathmandu, and after was University of Pennsylvania. And proper chairman can, plan around that. And so I do. I'm able to. I've only had to be on one Zoom board meeting in the last couple of years. One in Pittsburgh or something. I forget why I couldn't attend, but anyway. So they're paying for their selves, okay? And I also tell you, don't take these, when you're recruiting board members, don't fucking take them to dinner. Don't take them to lunch. Josh is so cocky now, he has 4 or 5 acquisition candidates sitting in Starbucks, Chicago Starbucks, near I forget where. And they're all sitting at the same table. I'm here to see the kid over there. So am I, I'm trying to sell my business to him. So am I, all of us are. That's when you've done deals, though. You can be cocky then. Yeah. And he uses his accountants. You should be able to use your account. If your accounting firm or law firm won't allow you to have a fucking board meeting, then they're not the right ones. Now, and the meeting we have with Andreas, if I remember, they laid out lunch for us. They put a buffet, as they say over there, buffet lunch. And any questions about Andreas? But when the Germans get it, they get it right. They get it fucking right. Takes them longer, though. Yes, sir.
In his presentation, he commanded the room. Typically, is that CEO's position to command the room? No.
We're going to tell you how to set up the boardroom. We're going to tell you where to sit, all that shit. We're going to tell you all how you put the window behind your back like a gunslinger in a fight at sundown. We teach you all that shit. Okay. Yeah. You when you go in for the interviews with the accountants and lawyer, you sit at the head of the table, and we'll show you how to sit and where to sit. And now they tell me there's been books written about power positioning. I didn't read any of those fucking books. I only know what I saw Bunker Hunt, the billionaire, do. Ross Perot, the billionaire, do. T. Boone Pickens, the billionaire, do. Ken Langone, the billionaire, do. That's all I know. I know what they do. Now, maybe they read those fucking books, but I doubt it. Okay? So I just do what they did. Or do. Ken's still alive. Good guy. Founder of, and I've never seen Ken in a board meeting, so that's, I'm overstretching that. But I know him and I know his alpha personality, so I can just imagine where he sits. Okay, any other questions? Yes, sir.
So he said he did owner's finance, but did he do a bank finance?
No, he 100% owner finance, which meant the first deal we didn't get paid. Okay? And the lawyers and accountants didn't get paid. And they're cool with that because they understand owner finance. But you do 2, 3, 4, 5 deals owner finance. Then one of the board member, and they haven't got paid, one board member will say, maybe we should do a commercial deal so we can pay the lawyers and accountants. What he's really saying is pay me, but he doesn't say it that way, And, but I mean, the German board meetings are all very proper. Everybody calls each other Mr., Herr Professor, Doctor, Herr Professor. I mean, it was very fucking formal. I used to sit on a German board. It was 8-9 years before anybody called anybody by the first name. Very formal, extremely formal. Yes, sir.
Is there a reason he doesn't want to finance this deal commercially?
Because you got to convince the bank. And it adds 3 to 10 weeks on the time frame. You can get a dipshit that owns the business
No, but to refinance.
Oh, no, yeah, well, he will, but not now. It's not remember, when you've done 100% owner finance, when you finance it with the bank, it's not a refinance. It's the first finance. That's why you don't have to be in business 6, 9, 10 years. It's the first, and because you're keeping the original owner there as part of the management structure. But I mean, owner finance deals you can do, I mean, they're easy. For the guys in the United States, in Britain, they got guys on TV, no money down, buy houses, no money down. They used to call them house flippers, okay? Well, this is business flipping. Instead of buying a house for $60,000 or $160,000, no money down, taking it and giving the owner of the house, he's giving you a mortgage, the equivalent of a mortgage, and you're paying him. You rent the house, right? And you're using the cash flow from his own house to pay him. It's exactly the same concept except for companies. And the numbers are bigger. And they don't have dream teams. And normally it's some fucking guy with a patch over his eye and no teeth and shit like that. But I mean, and one of the great house flippers of all time, Ron LeGrand's a mentee of mine. But I mean, it's not, this is not rocket shit. Right? It just isn't. It just isn't. It's as our daughter would say many years ago, it's easy peasy, Daddy.